So, welcome everybody to episode 4 of the Everything Endurance podcast. I'm joined today again with my bald-headed amigo.
Hello. Hi. That would be me, Will. And we've set the bar pretty high with guest Kris, and now we're on episode 4. It's going to have to be good again. Who are you introducing me to today?
Well, I have got a very special guest today, and she describes herself as a writer-runner, speaker, and dedicated cake eater, which just flows perfectly. I think it just rhymes really well. And that's Elise Downing. Hello, Elise. Welcome to the show.
Hey!
When our budget goes up, we will have a jingle.
There will be actual drums. We won't just be hitting a desk.
Yeah,
I like the desk best.
So if you do come back for another series, hopefully we will have an upgraded noise apart from that. So hopefully, anyway. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. I think Will's fettling with Kit as we speak.
Okay.
But he's pretty keen to ask you some questions today.
Okay.
So we're going to probably start talking about running, and then we are going to have to start tapping you for info on cake.
I mean, I know more about cake than I do
know,
about running, so that's probably for the best.
And we're all for every kind of endurance here, and it doesn't have to all be about running. You seem to have, I would assume, eaten an awful lot of cake while you were travelling around. And that's worth us talking about as well. What we'll be having intermittently throughout this episode is a section we're referring to as the Great British Cake Off. Which
I love that. I should have done that.
Well, there you go. We're pretty confident that's not going to cause a copyright infringement issue because we've used the word cake instead of bake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to point that out there.
Just to put that out there.
Obviously, the BBC or whoever is owning that show now will be listening to us. It's obvious that they will be.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, we will have little segments where it'll always be like a little pub quiz to see how good your knowledge is and help us craft.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, help us craft a perfect cake, hopefully by the end of it. But let's talk about running first. Let's talk about who you are, what you do. We should probably as well point out that throughout this episode, Will may call you by the wrong name. We've had some difficulty. With Will saying the correct name for you because there seems to be some similar names around.
What does he keep calling me?
This isn't fair. We weren't going to do this in front of the actual guest.
I'm used to it, but
Over the last couple of weeks, so far, I've referred to you as Ellie Downey, Elise Downing, and at one point Ellie Goulding.
I mean, except for the latter.
Yeah, so you might get called a few names today, but Will,
I've got it down now, Kris. I think we're going to be okay.
As far as I know, Elise isn't a singer-songwriter.
I can't clap in time, so that's not the career for me.
Ellie Goulding can clap in time.
And amongst other things.
That's what she's well known for. So let's tell our listeners, our millions of listeners by now, let's tell our listeners a little bit about you, Elise. What have you done? What do you do?
So I guess I should probably say the obvious thing if we're talking about running.
Yeah.
So I set up in November 2015 and I ran around the British coast. That was my thing, I guess.
That is a long way. You broke it down into numbers on your website really well that I liked. It's 5,000 miles, 10 million steps. It's
Roughly.
200 marathon. Well, roughly. Now, I'm not expecting you to have actually counted on the way around. That would have been
Some people
tremendously
sometimes
dull.
think my stats are really accurate, and I'm like, no, they're just sort of a guess.
You just kept a tally chart and carried an abacus with you to try the steps.
Yeah, so it's an absolutely huge achievement. But
yeah, well done. We should probably start with that. Well done.
oh yeah,
That was
Thank you. It sort of feels like a weird dream now that never happened.
yeah. 'Cause, it wasn't even that long ago, really, was it?
No, I finished August bank holiday weekend, so 5-6 months ago now.
Okay, and how has life been since?
People talk about like post-adventure blues, but I'm still just so excited to have my own bed. So I'm still riding that wave of like really enjoying all the things that from normal life that you don't get when you're travelling. So I haven't really had any post-adventure blues. So the first few months I went home and obviously caught up with normal life and not wearing lycra, which was really challenging. Jeans are so uncomfortable. And then I was doing a bit of speaking, and I'm slowly trying to write my book, although it's not really going very well. And then in November I started work again, so I work at a tech startup, so totally different. So that's what I've been doing since I finished.
Okay, and then there's obviously, I've seen a few things that there are some adventures on the horizon as well, but we'll kind of speak about them. Let's go to, you're probably still appreciating the bed because this was such a long adventure, really, wasn't it? It took quite a while compared to what most people would tend to do when they go out running. You know, they might do a week at top. If it's a multi-stage, for example, they might do a week or maybe but yours was quite a long adventure, wasn't it? How long did it take in total?
It took just under 10 months, so it was 301 days exactly. So it did take a while.
You didn't really come from a running background before, did you?
No, not at all. So I started running, it was 4 years ago now, so early 2013, off the back of a New Year's resolution. And I just wanted to run a half marathon. And I was living in Sweden at the time, doing my year abroad at uni. It was -20, it was so cold. And I decided that would be a great time to start running. So I set off and I started running. And then I remember the first day I ran 5K. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. I've just ran for half an hour without stopping. And I was so excited. And then I carried on running over the next couple of years, but definitely not loads. When you look at other people who do all these crazy ultras, definitely nothing on that scale. I'd struggled my way around 2 marathons and hated every second of both of them. But there was I think I really wanted to enjoy running more than I did. And then I just had the idea to go around the coast, and it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to do a huge running adventure. I just wanted to go around the coast, but I didn't really cycle, and I was terrified of cycling at the time. I have got over that a bit, and I thought walking just sounded a bit boring, although obviously I did end up walking bits. But so I just decided to run it, and all of my friends and family just thought that was ridiculous because I'm not just being trying to be honest. I really wasn't a great runner. So I can see why they thought that was a bit ambitious.
Well, it's quite a big step up from 5K to 5,000 miles.
Yeah.
That's a big jump.
I mean, looking back, I really can see why they were all a bit surprised.
But I suppose as well as that, you've got all the other elements in because you were pretty much... while you were running around self-supported, wasn't you? You was kind of just crashing wherever you ended up, and
exactly. So that kind of totally changed compared to what I thought it would be, because before I set off, I thought I'd be camping all of the time, mostly just because I knew unless I set off years later, I couldn't afford to save up enough money to stay somewhere every night. And also a lot of places are quite remote. There isn't necessarily going to be a hostel or a B&B everywhere you want one. So I set off with my friend, lent me a super light tent, and I set off, but in the end I camped for less than a third of the time because people were just so nice to me, and I stayed with so many nice people, and that was really special. So that was a surprise.
Yeah, and I suppose you can't really... Well, you're not supposed to camp in England, are you? This is only something I found out about a year ago. You can wild camp in Scotland, but you can't wild camp in England, can you? You've got to kind of...
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's kind of accepted that as long as you're not making a mess or being loud or causing any trouble, you'll probably be fine. But my main issue was, especially for the first few months, it was kind of this time of year, November through to February, March. It was dark at 4 o'clock, and I don't know if anyone remembers, but last winter was so wet in England, so it was just ridiculously muddy everywhere. And I think wild camping's a lot easier when you've got a longer day, and you can obviously get there at sort of 9 o'clock at night while it's still like pitch up, and then be gone really early. But because we had 16 hours of darkness a day, that was difficult. So I'm glad I didn't have to do that. And all the actual campsites are shut over the winter because no other idiot is out camping.
And what, you was in Scotland around that time? Where did you actually start from? What was your starting point?
So I started in London, and I went clockwise. So I ended up I did the south coast and around the southwest up until February. Then I started Wales, and then I think it was May the 1st I got to Scotland, and then I was in May until July maybe, and then down the east coast, which doesn't really take very long because it's not as wiggly as the rest of it.
It's downhill as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it is flat. It might not be downhill, but it's definitely flatter than anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's that southwest coast. You're going to chew up a fair bit of hill there, aren't you? You know, following the southwest coastal path and stuff like that. It's quite well known.
It's
Quite well known for
ridiculous.
yeah. And how far did you stick to the coast? Because obviously there's on the coastal path, for example, that's nice and easy. But when you were navving your way through some of the rugged parts of Scotland and things like that, how often did you come inland there?
Yeah, so at the beginning, I stuck to the coast pretty closely. I'd say probably from London all the way around to the end of Wales, I stuck to it really closely because it's easy to stick to it. And in that time, you have the South West Coast Path, which covers 630 miles. Then you have the Wales Coast Path, which is 800 odd miles. So, and they're amazing. They're sort of well signposted. You've got this amazing trail cut into the cliffs. But then as you get around, there's just not those coast paths. So, for instance, some bits of Scotland, I found there was a route really close to the coast, but that would be like a super busy dual carriageway with no path. So I would come inland because I didn't want to get run over by a lorry for obvious reasons.
Which is understandable, yeah.
Yeah. And there were lots of bits like that. And I think at first I really worried about if stuff was cheating, and then at the end I was like, it doesn't matter. Like it's not like it's a defined route anyway. So I relaxed a bit on that towards the end, and my rules after that were generally to pick the route that was closest to the coast but nicest and safest.
Yeah, that's it. And I
so
think,
often that was a coast path, but sometimes it wasn't.
Yeah, I can remember from being up in Oban way. On the west coast, they were really busy roads on the coast there because there's just simply no other big roads around there, so they kind of just take them, and they've got all the logging trucks and things. So
exactly, I mean that bit up to Oban I remember really well. There's a road, runs right around the coast, but it is those really busy roads. So I instead took a really quiet road that it was exactly the same distance, but it looped inland through all the locks, and it was beautiful and amazing. So I was like, I don't care that I'm not seeing the sea because I'm having a great time. I'm not getting run over here. And then I think I went over to the Isle of Mull to avoid the busy road to Fort William. So, I was quite relaxed with that in the end.
Yeah, and I think you've got to look back at why you did this adventure in the first place. Was it to, please other people, that may criticise that, which I don't think there would be anyone to do that anyway, or just to, get the thrill of adventure and go and explore, which it sounds to me that was the main driver behind it.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I think what I realised as I went around is that nobody really cares. Like, obviously people like following along, and they'll be annoyed if I'd got in a lorry and cheated the whole way. But people don't really mind. Like, it's your adventure. You're the one who cares about it. So, I think I didn't really do GPS tracking or anything, but I was pretty open about where I'd been and what I was doing, and I don't think anybody ever said, hey, there's no sea. So I don't think people really mind.
I think that was one of the things I really enjoyed about your journey as well, though, that this wasn't, and you talked earlier about these sort of crazy ultra runners that go out and do what they're doing. Yours wasn't I'm going to break this world record and therefore I need this many independent adjudicators and everything's got to be measured and weighed and GPS and everything else. This was very much just sort of about the experience of being out there. It was just about the journey.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what it is that stuff like this kind of falls into two categories almost, and you have that stuff where people are breaking records, and obviously it has to be all very structured and you have to track it all, and that's great, but I always feel like this different thing. This was more just I wanted to go around. I quite liked running, so it made sense to run a bit of it, but it wasn't. The best thing I've discovered is if you do things that nobody else is doing, you kind of automatically are the first person. So if you just go a really long way, there's no competition.
Yeah.
Which is good. You can kind of bank on being crazier than 99% of the population.
Yeah. Whereas if you're running a marathon, you've got loads of competition, but a lap of the coast, people don't seem to do as much.
Yeah,
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, there's not that many people doing it, that's for sure.
Well.
No. That doesn't happen often.
Yeah, we planned this.
Yeah, so my question following on from that is obviously that you got to meet a lot of people, and that was something that I found really endearing about this adventure, is that you would share stories of people that you met, strangers with random acts of kindness and things. Are there any kind of particular people that you have kept in touch with after?
Yeah, I've kept in touch with quite a lot of people actually. Just last weekend I was in Devon, staying with one of the girls who I stayed with down there, which was lovely. And we just went and re-walked some of the coast path that I did. So that was really nice. It's almost hard because there's just so many people that I would love to keep in touch with, but obviously you have limited amounts of time.
Yeah.
But it was just, I think that was so interesting. You kind of went to someone's house and they would just let you stay, which was so nice. And then you get this 24-hour snapshot into their life. And I went to choir practices and swimming practice, and you read bedtime stories to their kids. And it was just so lovely. And I didn't expect, I mean, people said before I left that I'd meet nice people, but I just didn't realise quite how much I would, which was just so nice.
Well, that's nice to hear. What we all do and stuff and do is that there's just actually nice people.
I almost didn't know how to respond then, because that's the first positive thing I've heard in a while.
Yeah. So we all need to do laps of the coast. Nice. Yeah, we all need to do laps of the coast is what we need to do. What was your...
I was going back a bit actually. I guess Kris is coming at this from the point of view of someone who has gone an awfully long way in the past. You know, he's done his big ultra things, and I'm more coming from the point of view of someone who is thinking about their own adventures that they might get up to. And I guess we're going to have other listeners in the same sort of position. How planned was this? Because I know what I'm like. I wouldn't, and Kris knows what I'm like. I drive him nuts. I wouldn't have set off without having a route written out, probably in triplicate, and backups for everything and spares of everything, because I'm crazy. But, how planned was yours, or did you just point yourself in the direction and go?
So I would be your worst nightmare, but I was so disorganised. It was the day before I was setting off, and I was living in London working before that, and I'd gone back home for a couple of weeks before I set off, and my mum was just saying, she was like, it was better when you weren't here and I couldn't see how disorganised you were. And I hadn't packed my rucksack, I'd never ran with it, and people were coming to run with me for the first day, and I didn't really know where we were going to go, and it was awful. So I baked some rocky roads instead, because that seemed like a much bigger priority. But I was just horrendously disorganised. But I feel like it was kind of okay, because I think I just am quite a disorganised person, so that didn't stress me out. Whereas I guess if you're someone who is really organised, that would be really stressful. And what I found is that the main reason I didn't do much planning is I kept sitting down to do it, but I just didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't know what to plan, and I didn't know what it'd be like, so I didn't want to sit down and put this itinerary together, because I didn't really know how far. I was always planning to take it really slowly at the beginning and sort of train on the job a bit, and I just didn't know how far I'd be able to run each day. So if I'd written out this daily itinerary and then not being able to do a day, it would have been really disappointing, and also just a total waste of time. So I did minimal planning at best.
He's shaking now.
Sorry.
He's like rubbing, he's scratching his own face off.
Look, I'm trying to get better at this, but I'm just like...
But it should fill some people with confidence, you know, because I think it probably holds a lot of new adventurers or aspiring adventurers back, because they think that every adventure has got this kind of 30-point plan behind it and all of this experience, when, you know, you aren't the only one that's kind of set. Like Sean Conway, when you talk about Sean Conway, who's going to be coming on later in the series, he hardly ever swam, and then went and did the first ever John O'Groats Land's End John O'Groats swim, didn't he? And he's very much one of those people that kind of just will do something and then worry about how to do it later.
Yeah.
So I think you're a classic example, and really good showcase of, if you have got an adventure planned, you know, you can obviously, we need to be careful, don't do anything dangerous, but you can go out and do these adventures and create the plan as you go.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say to people that you just have to do the planning to stay alive, most importantly. So if you're going to go into the jungle, obviously you need some planning there. You need to know what to expect and what to take. But luckily, just leaving London and running to Kent was pretty tame. And then enough to like get you to the start line and keep, which for some people, like if I had to do this 30-point plan before I went, I wouldn't have made it to the start line because I would have failed at that bit. Whereas for other people, maybe not having that would stress them out so much they wouldn't make it to the start line without it. So I think you just have to do what works for you.
Yeah.
And keeps you alive.
Will's got an adventure in his head that he's got planned for the future, and he's starting to over plan. So I'm hoping that he can take a buy your books and just go with it, because it sounds like I'm not going to say it out loud, but I'm going to give him like a month or two to declare that he's going to do it, and if he doesn't, I'm going to force his hand, because it's going to be an amazing adventure if he does it.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, but he's got like a 90-point plan already.
Okay.
That we need to scale back.
Why do I always take a pasted in these podcasts? we call really cool people and humiliate me in front of them. That's basically what the podcast is.
Yeah.
That's why you started it.
We'll bully you into adventure. So anyway, let's start talking cake.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is where things get serious. This is where heated arguments could occur, because there's going to be some listeners here that just don't agree with me on a few things and may not agree with you, Ellie, but I feel that you are in the best position to kind of lead this conversation. So
I mean, I have eaten a lot of cake.
You have. It's fueled you around the coastline. I'm gonna start off with a very simple question. Well, it might not be for you, but what is your favourite cake?
Okay.
That's big.
So
I'm going in big and bold.
It's difficult to say like my favourite cake, but I have some criteria.
Oh.
So
go on.
I really
let me
like
grab a pen.
anything with a fruity twist. So
Right.
if it's got a fruity twist, I'd always like it more than if it doesn't. So
Example?
Like so say a lemon drizzle cake, or like a chocolate brownie with raspberries in is always better than without, that kind of thing. I just think, and then I really like the combination of fruit and chocolate. So maybe a fruity brownie actually, but I do really like lemon drizzle cake, and I also really, really like just like a good Victoria sponge with loads of cream and fresh fruit in. So they're probably maybe my top three.
Yeah, I can't argue with.
I mean, it's a strong top three. How do you feel? And this is potentially divisive. How do you feel about coffee cake, the Marmite of the cake world?
I like coffee cake. I do like coffee cake. But the only thing I struggle with it is that I like to have coffee and cake, and I never really want coffee and coffee cake.
No.
So I guess you have to drink that tea. But I do like coffee cake, but only when it's nice. I don't like it when it's just really, really sweet.
Yeah, and some people just try and mask crap coffee cake with a walnut.
Yeah.
The walnut is the stealth. I don't know what you would call it, but walnut just creeps in there to cakes just to kind of pimp it up a little bit.
I love a walnut in a cake.
I love banana bread. How did I forget banana bread? That's another favourite, and that's always good with some walnuts in.
That is a powerful, powerful cake.
Mm.
Is there a dreaded cake? What's the least favourite cake?
So I feel like it's just any, like, a bad cake. So, you know, when it's just, you get really excited and then it's really dry. Or just when people try and mask no flavour with just too much sweetness. So I can't think of a particular cake I don't like. But, yeah, just a bad cake.
So good.
Just any poorly made.
Yeah, what are your favourite cakes? I feel like I want to know.
I like a moist, heavy cake. So I'm kind of a date and walnuts. I might go with a coffee and walnut.
It says a lot about your character, actually, that.
What does it say about my character?
I'm going to stop right there. I think mine depends on season. I'm a seasonal cake eater. So come winter time, when I start to go to hibernation, I'll turn to more cakes that go with custard.
Okay.
That's
interesting.
Like a sponge, treacle sponge.
That is good.
School dinner classic.
Yeah, I am a school dinner boy. Like chocolate concrete in my neck of the woods was the thing, which was basically like a chocolate brownie that you could use as a weapon.
Where are you from, Chris?
I'm from Doncaster originally.
Because I found in the north, I think it was like northwest.
Yeah.
There's a thing called doorstep,
Right.
and I've never seen it anywhere. I think it's maybe like Cumbria.
Yeah.
And that was doorstep, and that was like you could kill someone with it. And it was just this heavy chocolate thing.
It's like a chocolate slice almost, kind of brownie, kind of brick.
It sounds similar to doorstep.
Yeah, so it must be that. But my favourite cake of all time is, you know, when they get like cornflakes and put them in maple syrup, and then they put that onto like a shortbread crust with a bit of jam in.
I've never had that.
Right. Okay. That's a date.
We need to get one of them to Elise Downing.
We're going to send
That
some.
sounds great.
They're big here, so yeah. Just imagine like a kind of sweet cornflake, just on jam, and I mean it fills your criteria. It's got a fruit twist.
It's got a fruit twist, yeah.
Yeah.
I've realised I've forgotten a strong contender, which is a Guinness cake, and that definitely goes in the moist and heavy category.
Yeah,
But
this
it's
sounds
so
like the kind of
delicious.
thing I might be into.
This is a Will cake.
It's so good. I'd recommend it.
Wow, okay.
What would you have that with?
So you have it with like cream cheese frosting.
Wow. That's a strong side.
I don't know if we're going to be able to go back to running after this. I'm very much fixated on this cake now.
Sorry. It's a bit of a thing. You can get them everywhere. But it's usually like some sort of cream cheese frosting on a Guinness cake.
I've never come across this before in my life. It's
Both
a
of
whole
those
new
things.
world that's been opened up to me.
Both of those things. Guinness cake, never heard of it. Cream cheese frosting.
If we can send you one of these cornflake things, can you send us a slice of Guinness cake in return?
Yeah.
I'm sure the Royal Mail are fine with
Yeah.
people sending cake, right?
Yeah.
I've had a cake posted to me before.
Fine.
There you go.
That's okay
That can
then.
be done.
You can order anything on the internet these days.
When I was studying in Sweden, one of my best friends sent me a whole Battenberg in the post for my birthday with the candle. I like Battenberg. I love Battenberg as well.
It's a grandma cake, isn't it, Battenberg?
It's comforting though.
It's a very nan
Oh,
cake,
yeah.
like Madeira cake. I only had that at my nan's.
Yeah, my grandma's a big Madeira fan.
Yeah. Well, that was our cake section. Have we got any more?
Oh yeah, but I think we might have to come back to it later. You know.
I like that one actually. That side one. This is quite an interesting.
Are we looking at this?
Yeah. This
I-
is going to be the thing that divides a room.
Okay.
So, in terms of a hot or warm cake,
I'm still on cake.
we're still on cake. Just remind me. I'm sorry, you really got me into this.
This is the final one.
Ice
I'm fine
cream,
with that.
cream, or custard?
Sorry, cream or custard?
Ice cream, cream, or custard?
With a warm cake.
Whipped cream.
That wasn't on my list. What are you doing?
Cream.
I had this planned.
Whipped cream. That's
I
alright.
know one of my videos when I was running, I think I've been struggling with content a bit, was me sitting in a room in this random B&B eating bananas, whipped cream and Nutella. And my friends won't stop laughing at me now, and they just laugh at me about whipped cream all the time. Buy whipped cream.
It's basically everything you'd have in a crepe, but without the crepe.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Or like a DIY banana split was the way I saw it.
Yeah,
Yeah, fair enough.
that would.
I mean, I prefer like actual whipped cream to squirty cream, obviously, but you know, can't always get that when you don't have a whisk.
Actually whipped
Or-
cream.
Oh god.
No, we're veering straight off that. That's absolutely fine.
Have we finished our great British cake
Cake
off
off.
section?
Be careful. Yeah, I think we're going to have to say that we have, because we're a solid half an hour into this.
Okay, so let's swing back to some running. Let's kind of get in there. So you've obviously had this. You've gone from 5k, marathon, 5,000 miles.
Yeah.
We've established that that's already a ridiculously big jump to make, but you successfully did that. Where do you go from here? Because you've kind of shot yourself in the foot, haven't you, on what you do? You're going to have to either find another country to kind of coastline,
Or planet.
or planet.
It's going to have to be big.
Yeah. What do you?
Jupiter.
Yeah.
Or, you know, would you just look at doing the same kind of thing, smaller country, you know, because being away from home for that period of time is quite stressful, I should imagine, as well. So where do you go? What's your direction?
So I mean, I'm still trying to work it out, but I think I don't have at the moment, and I'm not saying I won't get itchy feet at some point, but I have no desire to go on a 10-month run ever again. I don't really want to run with a backpack. Well, I run to work with a backpack, but I don't want to run with a heavy pack ever again. So what at the moment I'm really enjoying just doing normal running, and it's just so much fun to be able to just go for a run 10k and then come home and have a shower and get on with my day. That's still a real novelty. And I think my focus, I guess, for this year is I really want to be a better runner, because the coast, I just kind of muscled through, and it was very slow, often quite painful. But I genuinely think that anybody kind of reasonably fit and healthy could have done that. There was absolutely no skill involved at all. So I'd really like to become a better runner. So a bit faster and just, a bit of a better runner. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. And there are definitely like running things I'd like to do, but shorter. So, and I don't have anything on the cards immediately.
Okay. Well, we will hope to get an exclusive. We'll just keep sending you our bits of cake and then get the exclusive.
I feel like I'm just really disappointed people, because people always ask, like, oh, what's the next country you're running around? I'm like, I don't want to run around another country.
Yeah, well, don't feel pressured. Don't feel pressured by us. It's just, I think you're right. You know, people automatically think that this is you now. This is what you're going to do full time. But I think what a lot of people forget is that the toll that it takes, not only on your body but on your mind. I suppose you was away for quite a long period of time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the thing I found hardest. And I did get homesick, and it was really hard kind of being away from all my family and friends for that long. And I'm not sure it's that impressive to just forcibly remove myself from seeing my grandma for a year, for instance. So I'm really enjoying just doing shorter things at the moment. And it's also nice doing things with people. Yeah. It's really fun. So definitely some shorter things in the work, but probably not another 10-month run.
Fair enough. I mean, one thing you were definitely fixed on is that this was sort of about the pursuit of happiness. So whatever the next adventure in, it's got to be something that makes you happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we will wait to see what that is. Have you got any other questions for?
Well,
I mean, we could be here all day. Is what I feel like we could talk to Elise all day, but
in terms of the pursuit of happiness, and I don't, we've been being
deep now.
Well, yeah, all right, fair enough. We've been being very positive up to now, but people will look at what you've done and be inspired by it, and they want to go out and do that. There's bound to be some barriers in their head, some things that they're afraid of, that they're worried are going to happen while they're out there. I mean, how much can you set somebody's mind at rest if they're worried about how difficult it's going to be? I mean, how hard was it while you were out there?
I feel like it's really hard to answer that honestly, because you just do block out a lot of the bad stuff, I think, when you finish something and you look back with rose-tinted glasses like, oh, those blisters, they were great. So it's really hard to objectively think about it, but it was really hard. And I'm sure if you ask my dad, who I called crying so many times, he would tell you about all the bad bits without even hesitating. But it was definitely really hard, but I think I just tried so hard to actually enjoy it, because that's why I was there. I wasn't doing it to be miserable and have a terrible time. So I was always there were definitely times when I wanted to quit, but I always tried. I think if I had genuinely been hating it, I would have quit, and I wouldn't have been too embarrassed about that, because it was meant to be quite fun. I think maybe looking back, I would have enjoyed something a bit shorter more. So maybe something that was 2 or 3 months, which is still a long time and would be a big achievement, but a bit less consuming. But it was great. And I think you just have, if people want to do something and they aren't sure about it, if you just go and set off, if you hate it, you can stop. And I think, like I said earlier, nobody really cares. Nobody cares. So you can set off and have a go, and then if it's oh my gosh, this is really bad, you can just stop and come home.
There we go. So just go do it.
We care.
Yeah.
No.
Just to be clear on that.
We care about you. Yeah, we care about you.
I just think no one's going to be mean, aren't they, really? I think
we care.
Actually, Actually, my friends would have been really mean if I'd quit. I never would have heard the end of it. Maybe
Well,
that's why I carried on.
if that's what keeps you going, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for coming on, Elise. It's been amazing, as we expected.
Thanks for having me.
We hope that as we progress with these episodes, we can get you on again, and hopefully by that point you've got, you are a better runner by that point, as you've planned out to
I've got a
be.
few things in the works. So.
Good, and we'll speak about that, and lots of cake will be eaten in the meantime.
I'm
and we'll-
holding you to that Guinness cake.
I'm
Yeah,
expecting a package with this maple syrup. I just
Yeah,
can't
we need a
even
name for it.
imagine it.
If anyone knows the actual proper name for it, I just know it as like cornflake tart, which undersells it.
It's
But I've
better
just
than
never heard of anything like it.
Well, consider to have your mind blown.
But I like maple syrup.
We will arrange this. We're going to send you this cake.
Yeah.
Okay.
A picture
And I'll
will be
send some
sent.
Guinness
as
cake.
well. Okay, well, have a great day, Elise.
You too.
And we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.